was really so easy back in Christ's day. And look what they did to him. Now, people that try to teach spiritual things today have an impossible work. I'm being nagged about that you can stay at home and what to do. Because, like St. James said it well. So confident in his understandings of St. James. Well, they all were, really. Have nothing to do with the world. That's the only thing a disciple needs to do. Like I said in one of the last ones, you have to use extreme judgment. Correct, right judgment. It's hurt me, that can't hurt me. Like I made a mistake last night. I didn't screen my TV and they put a sexual image, and to be honest, even just one sexual image, I've had trouble. I don't know if that's it, but it just bothered me. I don't want sexual images, especially from other people. I'm happy with the sexual images, they're all asleep, they're all gone, they're all laying low on my own. But why do I have to see other people's? Honestly, this time, these people are so filthy. It's very hard to live here. So, I have to be very, very careful about what I watch. The Christian must be clean of women. It doesn't mean good women, it means bad women. But also like those middle of the road ones, because there's a lot of women just hover around in the middle of, yeah, we'll have an affair, yeah, we'll have a bit of sex, we'll have this, and it's not good for a disciple, it's not good for. That's what it means. You must be clean of women. That's what it means. No lust. You must be clean of all lust. I had it all through being young as well, thinking that lust was all part of it, was clean, and you just do it in the right way. But that's the way that they do it. But it's not true. All lust is disgusting, apart from when you bridle it, and then you can have children together in a good marriage. And that power that is in the groin, what we call it is the 10 chakra, or you experience it more rather than words, but it's basically a house of the creation, that chakra. And you have a ability to create in there too, even without knowing how to create. You can create. It's a wonderful gift from Father, really, isn't it? All you've got to do is do a few movements in and out, and put fluids from one body to another, and then you've got children. You don't exactly do much, do you? In the actual, a woman does the work of carrying it, but you don't go making it. Like God makes the child. It's the chakra of the creation of the 4 angels: Michael, Uriel, Gabriel, Raphael. which is the cross. Earth, air, fire and water. And that's why we don't really have much to do with it, because we're not at that level. Jesus showed us that we can be and we should be. And that's what we should be learning, because we need to take the pressure off these animals. What really do you think the animal kingdom, you think the animal kingdom is unconscious? Can't you see them out there? They're not unconscious. They don't think logoically, they don't think like intelligently through Christ like us, reason. They don't think like that, but they're still conscious. They still absolutely know that like we are terrible to them. Not that we're really any better to each other, really. We're not. But one of the first things we're going to do after the judgment, which is both now and to come, it happens in small parts and it will happen in a big part as well, is that we learn to be creative. So that when I want my egg and my bread, I just visualize it. And then it's just like going into that salt. And from the top, I see the plastic manifest, manifest, manifest. And there it is. You visualize it, and then you lower the vibration, because visualization is a high vibration. It's real. It's not imagination. Imagination is desires. It vibrates differently. Visualization is the same way that the angels create things. And this is what we're going to learn. It's quite easy to learn. About 10 years, I think. You think our little children, they go to school, and then by about 10 years time, they're very full of a standard kind of learning to go out into the world. Well, imagine if they started teaching that, because that's the big thing, is that because it's so unstandard, people won't learn it, people don't think they can learn it, and with this other basic education, people don't have any understanding of their capabilities. So yeah, thinking about it, I'll call this one Born into a Poisonous Womb. And fed upon a rotten breast. Or the other way around, a rotten womb and a poisonous breast. Because, that's the thing. I spend a lot of time not arguing with God, as I learn not to argue, but reasoning very closely to that kind of argument about it's just so unfair the way that we're thrown into this poisoned womb. What I mean, I don't mean that the womb or the woman is rotten, or that the milk is rotten. What I mean is that from the very, very start, even as infants, who learn just the same through example. We are trained that lust is normal, that sexual feelings, all sorts of strange sexual feelings that shouldn't, or demonic, demonic sexual feelings are normal, and that everyone has them. And then when your reasons start to take hold, like 5, 6, 7, or you start to understand that, by about 8, 9, you really start to understand what's in the music. All these sexualized teenagers dancing, older too, sexualized, young women dancing sexually, singing about sexual things, same as men, young young men and young teenagers singing about sexual things, in the lure. It's very ugly, really, when you think about it. This massive lure of lust that's presented. This is the great illusion of this time, right? This is the time of great illusion, where the face and the surface is so important, whereas what's underneath, no one cares. No one doesn't want to know, and that's the disciple. The disciple doesn't care about the face. You can make the face pleasant. I just try and have a standard as clean as I can, as fast as I can, without any too much hassle, and then spend all my time concentrating on the inside. Like Jesus said, what's the point in you clean the outside of the cup? What's the point in that you clean the outside of the cup and then the inside is filthy and dirty? First of all, you clean the inside of the cup, and then you can adore the outside. So I've spent nearly 7 years chaste now, and I think that's about how long it takes. I'm just starting to feel that I'm not going to be raped anymore. And when I say I'm not going to be raped anymore, anyone out there that decides, because I think you should, because that's part of the rotten. The rotten is that you're given one road, you're given lust, and you satisfy your lust with a wife, which is absurd. You're a lot better if you to satisfy your lust with masturbation, because you're going to be constantly challenged trying to satisfy your lust with a wife. If you follow the Christian road or the other roads, Muslim, and you have a wife to satisfy having a child, okay, well that's more viable. You can do that. So again, there's this nagging. Something's nagging in me. About the teachings. It's impossible. Say the time being born into the rotten womb and the poisonous milk. And it took me 50 years really to get out of it. 45 years I started to get out of it. I've been out of it about 7 years now. And for the first few years, the first 2 years were absolutely horrid. The first year is incredible, because the rape, you stop having, like I was engaged, and regular sex, it's just lust really. You're fulfilling each other's lust. It's not really a relationship. You kind of half build a relationship around lust. It's just absolutely pathetic. I managed to get out of that. Of course, the pain of that too, because that's quite painful. That you've got to get away from that, and then you get away from this idea that you're going to be alone. Though I didn't find that too hard, because I was always with God, and I always felt happy to be with God. And that's what I felt after 3 failed marriages. Well, just unsatisfactory. 3 unsatisfactory marriages, and 4 really. And unsatisfactory. I just felt like, well, I'm with my God, and He satisfies me. And everything I do with my God, I'm satisfied. Like this work we do with the energy centers, and cleaning ourselves and coming to know who we are and what we are. I feel fully satisfied. Though for the first year I was raped First of all, I was raped every week, and I'm talking about in my dreams, because I wanted an absolute shut the door on sexual thrills, orgasms. Shut the door. I had enough. I just want to be a human being without sex, which is not even really a Christian thing to do. It is known as a Christian thing to do, but why can't people do that? And this is what I mean, the rotten womb. There's absolutely no balance. The balance is absolutely like that towards evil lusts. Because you could bring the balance back this way, and I would say that's a little bit more what it was like. Maybe you could bring the balance back this way. Say, okay, there's some people out here that are going, to experiment with their lusts. Maybe they shouldn't experiment. Even desperate. Maybe animals. Even evil children. And there's some people over here that maybe don't unnecessarily, like, they don't need to give up sex, but at least there's and there's a balance, and 50% don't really bother with sex, and then maybe 50% do, and then maybe there's 10% on each side that actually find what they want or something like that. But it's not like that, is it? It's not like that at all. It's 99.9% are chasing lust, and there's this huge identification, and you can see it on the women's faces. It's like women are the absolute queens in this society in England. As I went in Bulgaria, it's the other way around. I think it's the man. They want the man. It is changing a little bit in Bulgaria, but in this society in England, and I think a lot in the West, women are just, they're like rare gold, because every man needs a woman to satisfy his lust, which is absolutely pathetic, and it's part of the culture, and they put everything in the culture. Like, this is why, like, they don't recognise all these 14-year-olds half naked all around the shop windows. And my mind was still forming at 15, 16, 17. That's what the women were talking about back in 1990. The older women would say, like, what are they doing with all this bad lusts? We're going to stop it. That's what they were talking about. It's not happening. They're not going to do it to us. But now it's been done, and it's natural. It's normalised, and people don't even, well, whether they notice it or not, they definitely don't care. So, born into the rotten womb. The rotten room is humans, human civilizations. Like Jesus called what the Son of Man. You're born into this filthy place. Inside the Son of Man is, and remember, man is where woman came from, so it means both. Man is actually, as a man, is actually half of what he was when he came, because he was both male and female. Anyway, so the Son of Man at the moment is filthy and dirty, but inside him is the potential for good, and he will come through good in the end. Slowly, slowly, he's going towards the goodness. I don't know, it's just the way I preach. I preach because something is insisting that I speak. Something is saying, look, if you don't preach like Jonah, that's why I took the Muslim name Yunus. I'm a Christian and a Muslim. There's no difference. It's like Gandhi said, they're all the same. Wherever you are, like St. Paul said, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Because it's a method. God is a method. It's about showing them that wherever you are, you do good. Like when he was a prisoner, he took command of the boat. That because his faith was so good, because they were dying, as there was no wind, they were stuck in the middle of the ocean. The same story with Joseph. It's a method. It's a faith. It's that we learn to clean our minds, to not chase desires. We learn to, like, there we go again, Lao Tzu. Like we learn nothingness. That's what he talked about, the art of nothing. So the mind is the bowl. You must clean the bowl. If you can clean the bowl, you can use the bowl again and again and again. If you don't clean the bowl, it's dirty. You can't use it. This is the state of human beings today. Our method is that we learn to clean our bowl, and then by cleaning our bowl, we know who we are, we know what we're doing. And this is why, when we do this, we look and we laugh at this science that you call science, because it's not science at all. And it's not even really the science in what it says. It's not even like experimented upon as like right and wrong. It's just proposed. We are the experts. We know what we're talking about. This is science. You must believe it. It's the worst form of religion. Your science. Your science is that cult. Cult. Just believe this. Where we start off and say, okay, what is my mind? What are these things going to and from my mind? How do I use the energy of my mind? Where does the energy come from? Well, we know that obviously it comes from God, or we say the absolute, the spirit comes from God. So I've got that energy and all these different tools, the mind, all these different things come from God. Well, I'm not going to talk about that. That's a whole different lecture. I'm talking about the disciple at home, because human beings are absolutely terrifying and horrible as well. Turned up like a studio, 9. This one's lust, up to 9 out of 10. This one's terror, 9 out of 10. This one's hatred. All the dials are gone up. It is truly, truly. Even just going out for 2 minutes can damage you for days. We do learn to survive it. It's absolutely horrific. I don't see any reason to live whatsoever, apart from this plan of God. The only reason we've all got to live is this plan of God. Everything that human beings are doing is just complete hell. And because they've got this survival, which is evil. Like if you look at the animal does not survive, it thrives. If an animal can't have the things it needs, it'll just fall asleep and die. Human beings haven't got that. Fall asleep and die. And we've got this, keep pushing forward with that is very much in the world, that's the world thing too, to look for the confidence. My confidence is that God is like say a river, and a river in my mind, and I want to stay on the river and go down his stream. And obviously, I sit on the bank and I rest, or maybe I take a little bit of a walk away from the bank, but I always come back to the river. And when I'm on the river, I'm always going in the right direction. This energy that people are using in lust is what we call the earth chakra, or the base chakra. We just leave it alone. There's not really much you can do. There is the meditation we do, but it's quite advanced. We don't interfere in it. Like, in this chakra here, we have a whole subconscious of the things that we've done and the things that we do and the things that we are. You can go into this chakra for hours, and it's good to go into this chakra and make visualizations and to clean it. And this chakra and this chakra, these are the 3 bodies that we have. Emotions, material, gross material, emotions, and thoughts. And hence, the cross. You know, we align this one and this one, and you see we bring it down into this one. Essentially, this one, the one that everyone is using for quick thrills, orgasms, masturbation, adulteries, you know, all sorts of quick thrill sex. They seem to think that like orgasms is their purpose in life, and you know, I was raised in that rancid womb of the poisoned milk as well. You know, but I pulled myself out of it. You know, this one down here is a source of very, very powerful solar energy. Mm. Solar plexus is here. You know, you have a lot of, you know, all the energy for manifestation. You know, this is where the angels are doing their work, and of course the angels are doing their work there. It isn't out of the groin where the children come. You know, there's this massive creative power, and this is where human beings have lost all their power. They've lost all their power in lusts, because if they could be chaste, let's say even for a year, if you could be chaste for a year, you know, rather than do military service, which, you know, all that discipline and learn about not firing and the potential of using a weapon against that kind of an enemy, you know, okay, you know, all that's good, I'm sure, but like, isn't it be better even that, you know, with all that lust and evil that's going on around you with lust and bringing your children and being fathers and mothers in this world, you know, isn't it a really good idea that you do a year's chastity, and even more that 50% of people be chaste. Okay, let 50% of people go and experiment and, you know, maybe have, you know, there's no balance whatsoever. Like I say, it's a really, really rancid world. So that's all I have to say, and I don't know what it is, but something brought me back today. Maybe I'll see you again.